welcome to Inside Edition, where we discuss national, regional, and international issues in depth. Driving an electric car will become the new norm for many, including the people of Bahrain, in the coming years, as governments and energy companies are setting big goals to help that happen due to several factors and benefits. Sustainable Energy Authority President Dr. Abdulhussian Mirza elaborates in this special interview.
Well, the global trend today is towards sustainability and sustainable energy in the future. And that's why the vision of the Kingdom of Bahrain, which was announced by His Majesty the King in 2008, talked about having a very comfortable life for the Bahraini community through making things better quality in the health, better quality in the air, better quality in the employment, etc. Now, one of the main factors there is reducing pollution and affecting the environment. That's why in Sustainable Energy Authority, we, in line with the Vision 2030, prepared the National Energy Efficiency Action Plan, and this was approved by the Cabinet. It has 22 initiatives to reduce the emissions in the air and improve the efficiency of what we have in terms of energy. One of these 22 initiatives is to look at cars and vehicles and transport and how we can make it more efficient and more up to date with what is going around us. So in that vein, the government, of course, formed a national committee to follow up the National Energy Efficiency Action Plans. I was honored to be made chairman of that committee, and I have with me a number of representatives from all the ministries concerned. So one of the representatives is from Ministry of Industry, Commerce, and Tourism. He's a member in our committee. So we are working together closely with the Ministry of Industry and Commerce on the vehicles. Here, of course, the reason for putting this as one of the initiatives is because, first of all, it reduces the emissions and pollution, because not many people realize that cars are also one main source of pollution in the country. So that's one of the main benefits, to reduce the emissions and improve the health conditions of the people. The second thing is that the electric vehicles are much more efficient than internal combustion engine cars, which is the old cars. It's about 66% more efficient. So although initially the cost is higher to purchase an electric vehicle, but in the long term, and as you operate it, it is much cheaper. It's cheaper, more comfortable, and more doesn't require maintenance so much. So in the long term, it leads to that. Also, what it does, because you can, by reducing the use of gasoline in the cars by using sort of electric vehicles, you can sell this gasoline internationally and get more price for it. So the fuel is not lost, the fossil fuel. So these are some of the advantages, and also it's now become a trend all over the world. And if we don't follow the changes happening in the world, we will fall behind. So that's the reason I think it's very important to gradually move into electric vehicles. The GCC, of course, normally meet and make standard specifications for many things. There is an organization called Gulf Standardization Office, which looks at how to standardize the specifications for the cars. Why we need a Gulf standard? Because there is homogeneity. For example, if you buy a car, electric vehicle in Bahrain, if there was no standard Gulf GCC standard, you may go to Saudi or to Kuwait or to UAE, and they say, no, you cannot drive this car, or you cannot charge this car because we don't have the same specifications. Different, for example, charging points, different points of plugs, different standards, and so on. So there is homogeneity, and you need, if you want to promote the use of EV, it's better that if you buy it in any one of these countries, you can use it in the other countries. And by itself, by being part of the standard process, you are sure that you will not, for example, if you drive to another country, you are going to be able to use your car because the specifications are the same. That's why in Bahrain, the Ministry of Industry and Commerce adapted the GCC specification for electric vehicles, and they made Bahrain specifications for electric vehicles. The ministerial edict was issued on 28th of January 2021. They gave 6 months notice to the dealers. So in actual fact, the specifications became effective 28th of July 2021, about a month ago. And that now the dealers can import cars according to these specifications. The use of electric vehicles will definitely increase all over the world. For example, some of the countries already have announced that they will ban the use of gasoline and diesel in cars. For example, Norway, they announced by 2025, 4 years from now, they will ban gasoline and diesel in cars because they had started much earlier. Britain, Denmark, Holland, Germany, Ireland, they said by 2030. In Germany, they even give rebate to the people who buy electric vehicles as an incentive. France said by 2040. And Italy recently announced they are looking at possibility of 2040. So as these countries increase who ban the gasoline and diesel in cars, it means that the dealers and manufacturers should look at electric cars because that's what the country wants. And this makes it important that the country should go along this route. For us in the Gulf, we have fossil fuel, which is gasoline and diesel. And people say, what you will do with the fossil fuel if, for example, you make everything electric? The fossil fuel which we have, we can better utilize it. For example, the gas, we can use it as a raw material for petrochemical industry. The subsidized products locally, we can sell them internationally and make more money because they are subsidized locally. So all these factors will make it in future more and more electric vehicles will come on the road. Plus, of course, many countries now have adopted zero carbon emission targets. 24 countries have announced zero carbon emission targets for their countries by 2050. China said by 2060 for the first time. So that, taking all that, it means people will reduce emission. And one of the sources of emissions is cars and vehicles. So that's why the trend will grow and grow, that more and more electric vehicles will be used. However, the electric vehicles itself are in development. For example, if you have charging point, you are using fossil fuel because you generate electricity from fossil fuel and you are charging it. But if you, for example, use solar or renewable on the car, then you don't need to use the fossil fuel. And that's why now countries also are looking at making the car itself doesn't need any electric from sort of power, conventional power generations. They generate their own power. The Sustainable Energy Authority was established by a royal decree from His Majesty the King in October 2019. And that's the first time in the Kingdom of Bahrain that there is a dedicated authority which concentrates on renewable energy and energy efficiency. And it doesn't report to any ministry, it reports to the cabinet according to the royal decree. And I was honored to be appointed president of that authority. Our role is to promote sustainability, to encourage sustainability. Sometimes we are given ourselves actions to do, but also we coordinate. Like I said, there is implementation follow-up committee, which is chaired by the president of Sustainable Energy Authority. And we see that different ministries, different authorities, each one does one of the aspects of the sustainability. Now, when it comes to commercial registration, that's a separate subject in a way. We recently, SEA suggested that there should be a new CR for renewable contractors, people who work in the contracting and renewable business. After lots of discussions in the ministerial committee under the leadership of His Excellency Sheikh Khalid bin Abdullah Al Khalifa, the Deputy Prime Minister, approved that there should be a separate CR for renewables. It will be under subclassification 332, which is installation of machinery and equipment in Sijillat in Ministry of Industry and Commerce. And the regulation will be issued as a ministerial edict by the President of Sustainable Energy Authority, which says what is required when a person wants to become a registered renewable energy CR. So this is a big step forward, because before there was no CR for renewables. There was classification 4321, which was electrical installation, and people had to come under that. But renewable is different from just electrical installation. So that's why this CR is very important. With the plan to move gradually into electric vehicles, people should realize, although initially the cost is higher than conventional car, but it is cheaper to run, and in total they will save lots of money. Not only save money, they also will contribute to a better environment, so they fulfill their sort of citizenship responsibilities.
Electric vehicles are the future of motoring. Countries across the world are pledging to support the manufacturing and utilization of those cars as the globe becomes more environmentally and economically conscious. The infrastructure to support them, the cost to build them, and the speed to charge them all look set to develop dramatically in the next few years. We will speak about this and more right after this. Welcome back, and for further discussion on this matter, we are pleased to be joined here in the studio by the Director of Testing and Metrology at the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Tourism, Mr. Syed Ali Shubbar. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me with you today in this program to highlight, to shed the light on the EVs in Bahrain and what's the role of the MOICT in that regards.
Yes, when it comes to electric vehicles, it has been a long time coming. People have been actually anticipating it coming to Bahrain on a larger scale. What is the role of Testing and Metrology Directorate on the national level in the mandates and responsibilities of the EVs?
Yeah, let's give a brief introduction about my directorate. The Directorate of Testing and Metrology consisted of many sections, and so many mandates we are doing here in Bahrain. We are the national standardization body. In the terms of standardization, we are the national standardization body. We have the standard department, metrology department, conformity assessment, quality assurance, as well as the assaying for precious metal and testing the gemstone here as well in Bahrain. As I said, among the standardization body, we are the national standardization body who set up the standards in Bahrain for the technical products as well as for the services, and the responsible for imposing such a technical regulation and implemented it on the national level. This is the role of our directorate. Yeah. Also, we are also a member of so many professional associations with regards to standardization. We are a member of the ISO, International Standard Organization. We are a member of the GSO, the Gulf Standardization Organization, and IDMO, the Arab Standardization Organization, as well as the IEC, the International Electrotechnical Committee, for setting the standard for the electrical and electronics component as well.
I mean, when it comes to, just for our viewers to understand while you're answering, that these acronyms are important because that is how high the standard of your directorate is in setting the standards for anything that actually comes into Bahrain or is used in Bahrain. Your directorate is the one in charge of doing the research and the quality for the end users, which are all of the citizens and residents of Bahrain. So there is a huge pressure on the directorate when it comes to putting these standards, and that's why it's important it's recognized so internationally. Yeah, we would like you to give us a brief idea about the electrical vehicles and how they're transforming the features of transportation field, not just in Bahrain, but all around the world, really.
Yeah, EV is electrical vehicle, which is powered engine, depends on the power engine by the electricity. Unlike the conventional type of vehicles, I'm talking about the internal combustion engine, which is used the fossil fuel to generate the motion within the car. If you are talking about the history of e-vehicle, it's not something new. I'm talking about maybe in 18th and 19th century when the first EV introduced to the industry. But at that time, it wasn't the time to develop such a vehicle, because if you are talking about the fossil fuels and the industrial revolution at that time, it wasn't worth to develop such EVs in terms of the economy and the industry. But if we return back to 2000 and the years after, there was so many studies, so many research in that regard, and many of the manufacturers as well as the researcher introduced many types, many models of these EVs. Many of the countries as well, they set their policies along with the EV to mitigate the carbon emission, as well as to depends mainly on the sustainable energy instead of the fossil fuel that energy comes from the fossil fuel. This is the basic things about the EV.
Yeah, and what this tells us is that the EVs that are available today are actually they're vehicles that have been studied for many years. So the end result now is something that is environmentally friendly, that is just a different era in the vehicle transportation arena. Can you tell us about the history? I mean, you touched on it a little bit, but can you tell us about the history of development of the EV technical regulations and the stages in Bahrain it went through until it has been officially issued?
As I said earlier, we are a member of the GSO, Gulf Standardization Organization. With our colleagues in the organization, these projects, introduced in 2009, and in 2012, the technical group within GCC handed that project to the UAE to proceed and to create a technical regulation for the GCCs. Work started started since that times by the discussion within these technical committees, technical work groups, and they come up in 2015 by a technical regulation for the GCC.
Right.
For the GCC. On the national level, we were working, in parallel to these GCC technical work groups among the local committee for mechanical instrument and vehicles. We have so many inputs on that. We take it from our national point of view. We have shared our partners on the national level. We have partners from the EWA and traffic department, as well as the Ministry of Communication and Transportation, as well as the other colleagues. We had so many inputs on that, and we developed it to meet our national requirement.
Yes.
And this is, it have been through, so maybe I'm talking about maybe 3 to 4 years to do that. It wasn't, an easy thing to adapt such a technical regulation for our national requirement.
Yes.
And the final stage, it reached, we introduced this technical regulation for the National Committee for Standardization, chaired by His Excellency, the Minister of Industry and Commerce. Yes. And when upon the approval, we announced it through the WTO, and to take the feedbacks of the manufacturer as well as their agents here in Bahrain. Yes. At the same time, also we announced it and circulated among our Bahrain Chamber of Commerce and the car dealers association here in Bahrain to take their feedbacks as well before proceeding in adoption of such a technical regulation. So many queries we've taken in that regard, so many feedbacks, and we reached the final stage until we issue such a technical regulation.
Yes. I mean, just listening to the whole process really makes a person think about we, the end users, don't really see everything that is working on behind. Just a follow-up question on your answer here. When it comes to the kind of cooperations you're talking about, whether it is with regional partners, international partners, or even local partners like the EWA here in Bahrain, how important are these kind of cooperations to run smoothly in order to make such an official thing happen in a country like Bahrain?
Yeah, it's very important for us because those partners or those shareholders, they have vital input on these technical regulation because they are looking into it from their side. Yes. They have like a valuable input in that, and they will shape the final technical regulation or final standard that meet the national requirement on the national level.
Yeah, because again, Bahrain is a different country. Geographically, environmentally, as well as the cost of electricity and water. There's electrical cars, so all of these things have to have an input in this. Well, why do we need TR for EV, and what is EV technical regulation mainly about?
If we are talking about the standard or technical regulation, the main benefit to have a standard is to unify the standard for all these products coming from different manufacturers. To have like a one unified standard to be followed by manufacturer and the importers as well. It's mainly talk about this safety issues like electrocution protection, protection against direct contact with the main power supply. As you know, the EV, it's considered to be a high voltage machine. Protection against indirect contact with the current to avoid what to do during the electric shock and leakage of power. Battery power management. All these things talk. It's considered.
There's going to be even a lot of awareness in the future.
A lot of awareness as well, and even also, within the technical regulation, it gives like, a a training, or a technical advice to those who will assist the EVs as well. I'm talking about the traffic department, or even also during within the agencies of these cars. Also, it gives like a guide, and it can be give a hand for those who will do the assessment.
No, totally understood. Especially that once the vehicles are actually in Bahrain, there's going to be a lot of adaptation in the market when it comes to fixing these kind of vehicles and so on, and more of these issues, which are also regulated by the Directorate. Well, what are the main roles of the MOICT in the EV strategy, and how did the Kingdom lay the foundation of the electrical vehicle infrastructures?
Luckily, let's say we have a team, a national team, or for the EV strategies, led by the Sustainable Energy Authority, and within that team there are subgroups, and each subgroup will be assigned a task upon their responsibilities. If I'm talking about our roles as a MOICT, our role is issuing and development of the EV technical regulation, as I said earlier, and also the implementation of such a technical regulation here in Bahrain during the importing of these products, and conformity assessment, along with the technical regulation.
Yes. Still in the same area, do you see that that Bahrain, as in citizens and residents, and the residents of Bahrain have enough awareness, or is more awareness needed when it comes to electric vehicles, their usage, and how they can improve or the usage in Bahrain specifically?
I'm really surprised about how the community and the commercial the society and the commercial community how they are aware here in Bahrain. They are following any topics related to the EVs. During the announcement of that, Bahrain will adopt the technical regulation for the EVs, we received so many queries from them. We have issued so many news article about that, so many posters, so many awareness media that have been issued by the ministry. But also we are on that direction to give more awareness for the society and the commercial community about the EVs. There was also a question raised for His Excellency the Minister by the Speaker of the Parliament. With that regards, we really appreciate that kind of communication between the legislation and the government to follow if we are really ready to adapt such things here in Bahrain.
So that's really important. And we also, I mean, I totally agree with what you say, because even some of the infrastructures, as in buildings or malls within Bahrain, if you really go around, you see that they already have ports ready in order just to implement the electric car vehicle charging systems within these structures. And that really shows a forward thinking when it comes to our even development field in Bahrain. Can you tell us about the main opportunities and challenges for adding EVs to Bahrain's local transportation sector?
If you are talking about the national level here in Bahrain, we are a small land. With that, I'm talking about small and limited traveling distance. Bahrain daily range, as per our statistics, Bahrain daily range usage, I'm talking about maybe an average of 100 kilometers per day, which is which can be achieved by the EV at the current, even from different models. Most of the residents they have their own home, so they can fix the charger at the home, and that will not be an issue for them. It's a new technology, and it's a continuous improvement. That's why we'll see within a short time, maybe if the EVs would fully charge maybe within half an hour, and there it's available also in the market. Also, as I said, maybe our partners in the GCC, I'm talking about the UAE and King Saudi Arabia, they one step one step ahead from us, and we are taking their experience to avoid to
because
tackle
it's similar environment,
it's similar
geography.
environment.
So
That's all. This is the main opportunities if I'm talking about the Bahrain. If you are talking about the features of the EVs, okay, as I said, it's no fuel, no fossil fuel is required. There will not be stress on our reservoir of the fossil fuel here on the national level. I'm talking about on the long run, it's considered to be more economical than the conventional.
Definitely.
I
mean, people are thinking the fixtures will be expensive, or is it going to be but it will be long
on the long run. It will be even it's that's supported by the studies. It will be much economical than the conventional vehicles. No emission. It's also safe to drive because some of the people are worried about that. Whether it's I'm driving the high voltage vehicle. Is that will be safe for us? It's safe, cost effective on the time. I'm talking about the low maintenance. There will be not that much of the maintenance. Also, it will reduce also the noise pollution, battery life, and the cost. If we can look at it from different perspective, and it's easy for driving. This is I'm talking about the opportunities and the features of the EV.
Absolutely. I mean, even like when it comes to the awareness pointers, anybody that really looks up e-vehicles can see its positive impact on the environment in the long run, even in the short run. Really, in a few years, some countries had, especially during the pandemic. Now, when there was a huge number of vehicles or people that had to stay at home because of lockdowns, we saw a big difference when it came to the environment. What can you tell us about the ministry's plans to spread awareness?
If you look at it from the cost of the EVs and the chargers, as well as the charging connectors, it's in compared to the conventional vehicle, it's something we consider it as a higher cost than the conventional one. Also, the charging time. Now we are talking about the charging time from 3 to 8 hours. I'm talking about the home charger, not about the fast DC chargers that will be available. But that also under development. As I said to you, some studies now said some of the cars they can reach up to 80% within just half an hour, 20 minutes, like that. Chargers compatibility, because we have so many models, and we have to find a solution to
standardize.
It's a standardized according, because these chargers it's based on the technical regulation itself. But sometimes you find it's difficult. I'm talking about the charging port itself. Availability of the charging infrastructure, because some of the units that they want, they are aware of if we have such as infrastructure here in Bahrain or not, and grid capacity. Maybe that will make in a future time that will make a stress on our grid, and if we are available to receiving such vehicles.
When it comes to these kinds of challenges, is there a standard that you put for the cars that will be sold in Bahrain as well? That's for the commercial purposes mainly. I'm talking this standard. It will tackle all these things. It will give as I said, a guide for the manufacturers who will export EVs for that region of the world. It should meet that standards. That's why we have a certain standard for the Bahrain as well as it's it's a copy for the other GCC. Again, that's why these cooperations with different institutions are important, because there's a collaboration there where people talk to each other and use their experience.
We are speaking the same language. Maybe you will get many products from different manufacturers, but if you are talking about the language of the standard and the technical regulation, we are talking the same language, and they understand us. What do you mean by these terms and these requirements?
Absolutely. now that we've finished the opportunities and the challenges that come with these, what are the ministry's plans to spread awareness about electric vehicles among Bahraini society? I mean, we talked about them already having some kind of an idea, but the language of the land is always different than what you can find on the internet. So how will you spread awareness among our society?
As I said, we have done so many activities in that regards. We release so many news articles, posters. Maybe if we return back to 2019, the ministry organized a show or an exhibition for the smart mobilities, and within that shows, I'm talking maybe 300, participants from all over the world, including some EV manufacturers. They brought their EVs here in Bahrain, and it was displayed for the public. And since that time, the society are will prepared to receive these things in a market officially.
Absolutely. I mean, news articles, social media portals, famous personalities of these companies. People know what cars are or what the brands are when it comes to electric vehicle cars. Next is, what local dealers need to have their shipment legally accepted in Bahrain?
I'll refer also to the technical regulation. As per the technical regulation, our control will be on the EV, on the battery, because the battery of the EV consists, the most important part in the EV itself, because I'm talking about maybe 50% or 60% of the cost of the EVs is due to the battery technology, the chargers and the connectors, as well as the charging station. These four things, is covered by the technical regulation. Before placing any EVs in a market, the traders, manufacturers, or their agent here are requested to post a request on the GSO portal. And it's worth to mention here, we work with our partner in the GSO over the few months ago to create such a electronic portal system for placing the request for the EVs. We have a system for the conventional vehicle, and it's been used by the all GCCs, but for the EVs we are the pioneer in that, because we create that portal in coordination with our GSO colleague. Amazing. And we are the first one to use it. And that will pave the way for the other GCC country, to the GCC, to use it as well in the future if they would like to do. And it's also under development. They require to generate a certificate. They post the required document by the manufacturer, and based on that, if it's met the requirement mentioned in the technical regulation, they will issue the certificate for that model of the EVs. This is before placing in a market. On the Bahraini side, the car agent also, they will submit these certificates along with the shipment package and invoices and all other documents for our representative offices on a boards. And based on that, we will do the conformity assessment if whether this shipment is compliant to other technical regulation, and later on it will be released. After placing these product in a market, the car agent will be obliged to affix the efficiency labels on that car, as well as to respond to any recall request from us. This is
these efficiency stickers are basically there for the end user to see all of these specifications that you talked about. There are so many studies, but we just see the end result.
This is the obvious things for the end user to see on the car.
That's perfect. It's even makes the end user safe, have that safety feeling when they choose these cars. Well, what are your future plans and further steps in this regard specifically?
For us, as a standardization body, in cooperation with our colleagues, among about technical committees, we are nowadays studying the autonomous,
Okay.
which is considered to be the future of transportation.
The driverless cars.
Yeah, the driverless car, the artificial intelligence, as well as I'm talking about the hydrogen.
Yes.
Fuel cell electrical vehicles.
Yes.
Because also it's another alternative for the environment friendly vehicles.
And we have it with abundance.
Yeah, we have it. That's you are right. That's why this is our future plan.
Cheaper.
Yeah, cheaper, and it's it's environment friendly, and it can be easily adopted here in Bahrain, but it's still under discussion and under development. Future of the EVs, as I said, it's under development, under continuous development. If you are talking about, I've read so many papers and scientific articles about that. They will introduce so many types of the batteries for the EVs. Maybe with that batteries as high ambient temperature here in Bahrain. Maybe some of them they are little bit aware if that kind of battery might damage or to make fire by the time, but they consider all these things within these studies. I'm talking about the artificial intelligence. In the future there will be a communication between vehicle to vehicle and vehicle to infrastructure. There will be a wireless charging. There will, all of these things, it's a future of the EVs. And the most important thing is to be ready from first of all from the standardization point of view. Absolutely. To prepare the standards that meet our requirement and to control such a product and such technology here on a national level.
Absolutely. From what I'm hearing and everything, if anybody has a question about EV, the future of EV, then your directorate would be the right place to ask the questions or even follow the social media outlets. And when it comes to the scientific point of view, as you mentioned, we have the Sustainable Development Authority or Sustainable Energy Authority also as part of this cooperation. We've come to the end of this show. Can you, do you have any last words when it comes to the entrance of the EV? What kind of a future will it have in Bahrain? What can you foresee?
EV, EV is I cannot know, but it's like a future for the transportation that it's in line with the environmental.
The rules that
with the environmental rules in Bahrain, and as I say to you, I want to stress, the most important thing to be ready from the standard prospects for such technology. Technology is far exceeding the industry.
Yes.
And we are the control for such industries to provide safety safety product within our local market.
Right. So the technology is there, but you make sure that it's safe for the use of people. That's great.
This is our main role in that.
That's perfect, and we thank you for that. And we'd also like to thank you for being with us today and answering all of our questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And we'd like to thank you, dear viewers, for watching us, and we'll see you next week in another episode of Inside Edition.